identify as anything. I go, yeah, that's the problem. These people in charge believe that equity is more important than the safety of biological females.
Yeah. And it's not, they don't even care about women. They don't care about our safety. They don't care about how we feel, but we're supposed to care about how these males feel.
There's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of just political things involved.
And the media, the mainstream media, will not report on any of this. They will not report on anything that paints the trans community in a bad light.
It's a clown show right now. I don't understand how this is acceptable to anyone. I don't even understand how one's acceptable, let alone it continuously happen.
David Menzies for Rebel News here in downtown Toronto. And folks, what can I tell you? Transanity continues. This time we're talking about how trans males are being treated as females when they are prisoners. In other words, if you're a male who merely identifies as a female, you can serve your time behind bars in a women's prison. And get a load of this. This shouldn't come as much of a shock. More than 50% of those males identifying as females to get into a female penitentiary, they're sex offenders. What a shock. So it is that activist Heather Mason, she's brought her demonstration to downtown Toronto. We're near a parole board office, and she wants to raise awareness that in Justin Trudeau's Canada, that is indeed the deal, that equity is more important than women's safety when it comes to the penal system. And you know, folks, it is getting some mainstream media coverage, dribs and drabs. Here last week is the Toronto Sun story entitled, "You Heard the Lady." Well, that ain't no lady. That is Shane Jacob Green. Sometimes he goes by the name Stephanie, like when he wants to get into a woman's shelter. And once in the shelter, guess what this sex offender does? That's right, he reoffends on the women who are in the shelter trying to get away from men like him. It is just absolutely preposterous. I'm going to talk to Heather and some of the others here and see what it is that they're hoping to accomplish. Well, folks, I'm with Heather Mason, and she's an activist for same-sex prisons. And you know, it's not the first time I bumped into Heather at a protest. A year ago, we were out in Kitchener at a female penitentiary, and here's a little excerpt of that.
When I first got here, I was told right away by some of the women to watch out for a certain prisoner. And I said, wait, we have men here? And they're like, yeah, we do, but you're not allowed to call them men, and you have to use she, her pronouns.
Are you telling me, Heather, I can just deviously say, hey, I'm a woman all of a sudden, and I'm here?
Yes, you could.
Will you do your best to ensure that trans women are put in prison, or prison more appropriate to their gender identity?
The answer is yes.
The next day it was policy. And
unbelievable.
That is how much consideration women got.
It's sorry to see real women like yourselves throw women inmates under the bus because of males pretending to be females.
I will not call him a woman because he was not. How he victimized women throughout the compound over that period of time absolutely floored me.
We really should be able to define a woman in this country. And sure, let trans people live the way they want. However, you can't just throw women under the bus.
Faking transgender just to be where you want to be, where your victim pool is wrong.
I, right now, identify as a female, and if I'm found guilty, I want to be incarcerated in that building. Is that okay?
Sir, you have the right to do whatever you want.
So that was kind of incredible, wasn't it? Those female prison guards were more concerned with us standing on the grassy berm as opposed to male sex offenders doing time with biological females. What do you make of that, Heather?
I was freaked out. I was out of there right away. I thought you were getting arrested. But yeah, they were more concerned with their property and making sure that we stayed off of it. It's not surprising, though, because if they speak up, they lose their job, right? So
Indeed. And by the way, I'll throw to another clip, folks. They actually called the police on us. Check out my interaction with a Waterloo Regional police officer.
Hi there.
So I was just called by the person that's manager here.
Yep.
and they know you were coming. You had a conversation with them. There was a small complaint that someone with a camera and a microphone might have gone onto the property. So their concern is the privacy of the people inside the institution. No problem with everybody being here. You have the right to do what you're doing here, but they just ask that nobody actually go onto the property if that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Say, officer, if I can, I'm David Menzies with Rebel News. What do you think about biological males being put in the same penal institution as biological females?
Unfortunately, you're going to have to phone headquarters and talk to the media relations department. So
you don't have an opinion on that yourself, sir?
I can't give you an opinion, but the media relations department can certainly help you with that.
It's for one last thing. If I do get arrested for trespassing, I want to declare to you, Officer Hand, that I right now identify as a female, and if I'm found guilty, I want to be incarcerated in that building. Is that okay?
Well, this is a federal prison, sir, and nobody said anything about getting arrested today.
Okay, but if I do, I want to be known as a female as of this moment.
Sir, you have the right to do whatever you want.
Apparently so. Yeah, so I said basically I'm identifying as a woman if I get charged and convicted, and I want to do my time back there. And he basically said anything goes these days. I think that's the problem.
It is the problem, and there's nothing they can do about it either, right? They just have to take you at your word. So if you are identifying as a woman, then you are a woman.
And tell me, Heather, what is the ostensible policy reason of this protest here today?
It's to raise awareness. Most people aren't aware that this is happening. They don't believe it. They think we're lying. So I wanted to get out, get in the public, hand out flyers, hand out stickers, let them know that this is happening. More people that know, then there's more people that will gather and help us raise awareness, and maybe things can change.
And tell me, Heather, I assume if I said 10 years ago, maybe even just 5 years ago, you know what, we're going to have a Canada where a 350-pound biological male, beard and all, a previous sex offender, merely has to say, I'm a woman, I want to do my time with the other woman offenders. I would have said, no, that's got to be an April Fool's joke. But that is the reality of Canada today, isn't it?
It is, and I would have thought it was a joke too. If I were in prison and they didn't change the policy while I was in there and start transferring these men in, I wouldn't believe it either.
Heather, how did we get here? How did some people, the people in charge namely, think that it is perfectly okay for a biological male who of course has a physical advantage over most women? How did they ever think that this was a good idea to allow this in the first place?
The problem is, I don't think they thought about it. There was no thinking involved. I believe they just wanted to be nice and make sure that, trans people weren't discriminated against, but they didn't think about the bigger picture. They didn't do an analysis. They didn't look at the content of even women's prisons. That wasn't even a thought.
So what you're saying to me, I think, is that these people in charge believe that equity is more important than the safety of biological females.
Yeah. And it's not, they don't even care about women. They don't care about our safety. They don't care about how we feel, but we're supposed to care about how these males feel. So it's very one-sided.
And yet, we must talk about the hypocrisy here. If you were a female and you were slated to go to prison, and you said to the Corrections Canada people, I identify as male, I want to go to a male prison, they're not going to accommodate you, are they?
No, they're not, because of safety reasons.
Yeah.
I'd be raped in a men's prison, and they know that.
Folks, I'm with Eva. She has flown all the way in from Alberta. That's how deeply she feels about this particular issue. Your sign says Trudeau put rapists in women's prisons. Jeez, Eva, what could possibly go wrong?
A lot has gone wrong, actually, and we also have this flyer, which I wrote. It details how that happened and what Trudeau did personally to be involved in this. And of course, isn't all on him, but he did sort of personally intervene and ensure that these transfers would happen. So, yeah, a lot has gone wrong.
How did we get to this point?
We got here with Bill C-16, which is the legislation that amended the Human Rights Code and the Criminal Code to include gender identity and gender expression. right? So gender identity, it was brought in, first of all, as you know, in Ontario in 2012 with Sherry DeNovo, and then it went federal in 2017. So basically what it means, a gender identity, the way they describe it, is it's your internal sense of yourself, whether it be male, female, neither, or both, right? So we have legislation predicated upon a subjective feeling, which is just not a good idea.
It's a clown show right now. I don't understand how this is acceptable to anyone. I don't even understand how one's acceptable, let alone it continuously happen.
Justin Trudeau says he's a feminist. This sounds to me like an act of misogyny. How do you connect the dots here?
You don't. It is an act of misogyny. He's a fake feminist. He doesn't, he just gives it lip service. I don't believe him for a second. He doesn't care about these actual issues that are affecting women. It's all just talking points for him. So, yeah, you don't connect those dots.
We have over a century of, criminal data that shows that, male, sexual violence is primarily a male offense, right, against women. And so they know that.
I have reached out to politicians. They're not very helpful. The Conservatives are more willing to talk to me. Liberals aren't. But I haven't found a Conservative to put their neck out on the line yet. But nothing's going to change while Justin Trudeau's in office, and that's for sure.
How did we get here?
That is a very big question. I do some writing about this, and it's just, there's a lot of money involved, there's a lot of just political things involved. Our Human Rights Code in Canada was changed in 2017 to add gender identity and expression. That's kind of the basis of this. Prior to that, the provinces already changed their codes, and it's all kind of gone unnoticed. A lot of people don't know about this particular issue and a lot of issues. So it's just kind of been slidden under the radar.
Our voices have been suppressed. What's going on Twitter and other social media platforms where we can't state basic biological facts, basic facts about child and women's safeguarding. And that's the reason why people don't know. And the media, the mainstream media, will not report on any of this. They will not report on anything that paints the trans community in a bad light. Yeah. So thank goodness for the Rebel News and other alternative media outlets, because that's the only way we get this news out.
It sounds like this is misogyny to me.
It is. It's exactly what it is. And it's like hidden misogyny. But if you're into this, you see it for what it is. And most people don't see it because they're just not involved with this.
Where are the feminist groups?
So we have a lot of grassroots feminist groups, but like the ones that actually receive funding from the government, etc., they're all trans rights or human rights because they're afraid of losing funding.
Well, folks, we love to bring you the other side of the story at Rebel News. Most of our content is free for the asking, but if you subscribe to Rebel News Plus, you can get all our premium content shows. That includes, of course, the Ezra Levent Show, Sheila's Gun Show, My Rebel Roundup, Andrew Says, and Misunderstood. So please go to Rebel News Plus, sign up. It's only $8 a month, and you'll get to see everything that Rebel News produces.